Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting.
The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. Fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
That's completely different.
Ah, Democrats. If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any. For example, like here, Democrats saying that Republican redistricting is an attack on democracy. Yet in the same breath, the Democrat will also say that when they redistrict, it's to save democracy.
Exactly. Big difference.
And before we get into all this, very quickly, I know you've all heard about AI, and I'm here to tell you it's likely gonna end humanity. So if you want any hope of possibly surviving the AI apocalypse, I would suggest that you start building up your emergency food storage right now. And if you go to preparewithdronetek.com to get your emergency food storage, you can save $200 right now. So make sure to head over to preparewithdronetek.com right now and support your favorite media critic.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the President of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is at stake.
Proving once again that when they say democracy, all they really mean is Democrat control. It's different when they do it by virtue of it being done by them.
Didn't even see it come.
I've seen a theory out there that the reason the Democrats are so scared about this Republican gerrymandering is because every blue state is already gerrymandered to the maximum possible extent, which means basically the only states that Democrats left to gerrymander anymore are New York and California, whereas the Republican states are not nearly as gerrymandered because up to this point, it's something that Democrats have mostly done. Also, I want to point out how unprepared JB was for Kristen Welker to actually hold his feet to the fire on this question, because Democrats are so used to being coddled by the media. Something has definitely changed because in the past, the media never would have called out this double standard. And let me show you another example of that still going on over at MSNBC with Jonathan Capehart, who is probably almost single-handedly to blame for PBS being defunded. And you're gonna see exactly why right here, when Beto O'Rourke says something that's so absolutely objectively false, but instead of doing that, he just enthusiastically agrees with him.
Absolutely, and I just think it's super clear that Republicans care about power and nothing else. And for far too long, Democrats have cared about being right, coloring within the lines, following rules, and power has always been a secondary consideration.
Oh, come on! This must be the talking point that have been put out to the Democrats, because Kathy Hochul also said something similar a few days ago.
I'm going to do whatever I can to literally change the Constitution of New York State to allow us to have an election with the lines that we draw. If this is how they're going to play the game, we're going to fight fire with fire. I didn't want to take on this fight. I've always followed the rules. Democrats always follow the rules.
Stop. You lying motherfucker, stop.
Who in their right mind believes that? Hochul herself tried multiple attempts at gerrymandering in New York that got smacked down by the courts.
Here's how National Review summarized it. They said it was only 3 years ago that New York's Democratic legislature drew up a map so brazenly contemptuous of basic rules that govern a district's contiguousness that the state's Democrat-dominated Court of Appeals threw it out. The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. That's their quote. So your state's highest court at the time, all the judges appointed by Democratic governors, they threw the maps out. So fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
No, we followed the rules. we do it every 10 years. We base
But
it on
the court
census.
said you didn't follow the rules.
Well, we did follow the rules.
Hate that clown.
The Democrat Party quite literally captured our free press and turned it into a propaganda organ for the party that purposely deceived the country, specifically to protect their power. Yeah, it's absolutely absurd, but these people hate you, and they will continue lying to you for however long it takes for them to regain power. All right, folks, that's all I have for that one. Let me know what you all think in the comments, and if you're still here, you might as well hit that like button and subscribe. I do post on a regular basis, and with summer about to be over and the kids going back to school, I'm gonna have a lot more time for content creation, so make sure to keep checking back for more. Thanks a lot.